Christine Everhart. This week on a special edition of Newsfront, the world the hero leaves behind. What is the final cost of intervention from groups like the Avengers? Who do they answer to in the wake of their actions? Joining me on the program is political correspondent Will Adams. Thank you for being here, Will.
Thank you for having me,
Are
Christine.
you scared?
No,
Okay.
we're friends, so, and friends who disagree, so this is going to be interesting.
Let's get at it. Okay. Our superpowered advocates have intervened time and time again in international incidents to great effect. But who accounts for the devastation they leave behind?
Well, the question for me, Christine, isn't if or even should our heroes be allowed to operate independently, it's why shouldn't they? Discoveries are still being made in the massive cache of classified material released by former SHIELD agent Natasha Romanoff. And the leak clearly details how the organization known as Hydra was able to infiltrate the highest ranks of SHIELD and had organized a massive conspiracy on the civilian population. Romanoff's actions, independent from oversight, saved us from what could have been a catastrophic outcome had Hydra been able to remain undiscovered.
Romanoff's actions, along with the actions of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and others over the years, may have been admirable.
Their actions saved hundreds of thousands of people.
But that's not the question. We're talking about the collateral damage. This week in our ongoing special report, we'll look back on the events in New York, D.C., Sokovia, asking you, the viewer, if the growing concern from governments around the world should see the Avengers submit to international oversight, or if they should remain free to act independent from government regulation.
I look forward to you trying to convince me that anything they've done is less than admirable.
You look forward to me winning. We look forward to hearing from you throughout the week. For news on this topic and others, Google search WHIH online and follow us on Twitter. On behalf of Will Adams, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And myself, thank you for watching. Hello, I'm Christine Everhart.
I'm Will Adams.
Superheroes like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark routinely leave behind considerable and costly destruction to property during the course of their various exploits.
We decided to ask you, the viewer, whether or not there should be a special tax to pay for damages these heroes caused during what Christine described as exploits, but I refer to as the times they saved us all.
But the question remains, should the financial responsibility fall on the people causing the damage, or the citizens who are left to pick up the pieces?
Yes, you all need to decide whether or not you'd rather pay more taxes or be alive.
We hit the streets to hear from you.
I don't have a cool shield or a flying suit of armor, and I can't fight, but I can clean up.
They put their lives on the line to save us, and not a lot of people would do that.
They do a lot of good, but innocent people had to pick up the pieces.
Tony Stark's got enough money to fix New York 10 times over.
Obviously, they should pay for it.
I was in New York during the invasion. Seeing what the Avengers did, I'm proud my tax dollars are helping with reconstruction.
As you can see, mixed reactions all around. This has been a special report from WHIH. For news on this topic and others, Google search WHIH online and follow us on Twitter. I'm Will Adams.
And I'm Christine Everhart. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Newsfront. I'm Christine Everhart, joined by Will Adams.
Good to be here.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
The financial cost of the cleanup effort in Washington, D.C., New York City, and Sokovia has crossed the $1 trillion mark. Critics and politicians, both domestic and internationally, suggest Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and others bear some of the responsibility for the massive destruction and mayhem, and wonder if there is a more strategic plan to better manage their response for potential future events. Will Adams.
Yes.
Where does the White House stand on this? And is the president favoring a particular side of the issue?
Well, so far, the Ellis administration has been careful not to publicly express a viewpoint as of yet. But today, President Ellis was on hand to commemorate the massive cleanup effort in Washington, D.C., following the destruction of the SHIELD headquarters. And he made a point of singling out the heroic deeds of both Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson during the situation. The White House has always been very clear that those responsible for that incident have been neutralized thanks to Mr. Rogers and his colleagues. Honestly, Christine, I've got to say that I definitely agree with him. I mean,
Are you?
Sure, collateral damage is a problem that we can't ignore, but it's so much better than the alternative.
There are reports that the president has recently met with retired General Thaddeus Ross to discuss a potential appointment. Ross has experience in dealing with superpowered beings.
The matter of superheroes is far from a simple issue. It's certainly not as simple as superheroes are good and unimaginable threats are bad, and that's what you're boiling it down to.
That's not what I'm boiling it down to, but go ahead, continue.
It goes without saying that Captain America and others have been effective in many regards, and you can't deny that.
I don't agree with you. You have to remember, President Ellis is first and foremost a politician. The international pressure is clear. A closed-door meeting with General Ross basically confirms that. I think the president and agencies around the world have an imperative to step up now and figure out a means to work with these heroes so future responses are handled in a more disciplined manner.
Think about it this way. If it happened right now, over our heads, you don't want to hear that there's a meeting in session. You want to hear that help is on the way. Captain America is coming. That's what you want. That's what everybody wants.
Well, it doesn't look like we're going to solve this today, right now. But as part of our ongoing coverage, we will have President Ellis himself here to share his opinions, and that should be very interesting.
That's a huge score. Congratulations.
Thank you. For news on this topic and others, Google search WHIH online and follow us on Twitter. I'm Christine Everhart on behalf of Will Adams. Thank you for watching. I'm Christine Everhart.
And I'm Will Adams.
From New York to Sokovia, we have witnessed a series of catastrophic events that have threatened the safety of the entire planet. While these crises were resolved as the result of the noble actions of Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and others, cities like Johannesburg, Seoul, and Washington, D.C. are still on the mend due in large part to the tactical response of these heroes. President Ellis has yet to weigh in publicly on the matter, but he recently appointed formerly retired General Thaddeus Ross as Secretary of State. And now, joining us from the White House to discuss General Ross's nomination and more is President Ellis. Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a very busy man.
My pleasure to be with you.
Increasing numbers of world leaders are calling for oversight of the Avengers, especially in light of recent events and sensitive data being leaked to the public. Simply put, what is your position on this?
We've experienced a series of grave events that have had severe repercussions. I am completely sensitive to the fear and concern that creates. But at the same time, I recognize what men like Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, and others have done in the face of these attacks.
Mr. President, Will Adams here. I definitely agree with you. Their actions have exemplified valor and self-sacrifice. Isn't it essential that our heroes be able to maintain their independence?
Well, my appreciation for their efforts shouldn't be misconstrued as a blank check. The Avengers need to collaborate with governments around the globe. That's why my administration is exploring ways to create an official relationship with these heroes.
Are you hoping that as Secretary of State, General Ross would be able to facilitate these negotiations?
The general is no stranger to these types of incidents, and he has long-standing relationships with many of these heroes, and was instrumental in spearheading the response to the emergencies at both Culver University and Harlem. He served this country with distinction for several decades, and I believe he can work with our allies abroad and alongside these heroes.
We're certainly all waiting to see what the outcome will be. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. President.
Thank you, and God bless America.
I wouldn't mind hearing from our heroes directly, as they're the
agree.
ones who have seen firsthand what government oversight can lead to.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I totally agree with you.
Yes, let's get Tony Stark in here.
Tony Stark.
It's probably more difficult to get than President Ellis, unfortunately.
I would take Captain America as well. Really interesting stuff here. Thank you, as always, to Will Adams. And again, thank you very much, President Ellis. For news on this topic and others, Google search WHIH online and follow us on Twitter. I'm Christine Everhart. On behalf of Will Adams, thank you for watching. It's been several hours since the incident in Lagos, Nigeria. Information is sparse, and the full extent of the damage is still unknown. Newsfront correspondent Jackson Norris arrived in Lagos moments ago, and he joins us now. Jackson?
Christine, I'm a few yards away from where the conflict took place. It's still chaotic. Several witnesses are confirming that members of the Avengers and unknown combatants were here at the time.
Now, Jackson, which Avengers were there exactly? Tony Stark?
Captain Rogers' involvement has been mentioned and corroborated. Some accounts indicate Sam Wilson and Natasha Romanoff, but nothing else definitive at this time.
Do we know why the Avengers were in Lagos? What threat initially brought them there?
Will, that's still unconfirmed. There was also an incident at a military compound. Local media speculation is pointing towards former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and now mercenary Brock Rumlow.
Well, given the extent of Rumlow's crimes, are you thinking he was the Avengers' likely target?
Again, it's hard to say.
Okay, I'm sorry, just Jackson, let me interrupt you. Breaking news in from Washington. We now go live to the White House where President Ellis is speaking.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've just been briefed on the developing situation in Lagos, Nigeria. Secretary Ross has contacted their president and assured him that we will do whatever it takes to support our friend and ally. It is crucial that we unite and stand together to ensure that peace and security prevail over chaos and fear. In the coming days, my administration will work directly with the United Nations to find the people responsible for this catastrophe and hold them accountable to the full extent of the law. With courage and with compassion, the international community will help support Lagos during their time of need. Thank you, and may God bless.
Well, that was President Ellis moments ago live from the White House, issuing a very strong statement about the Avengers.
Now, Christine, where you heard a strong statement about the Avengers, I heard President Ellis saying that we need to rally with our allies to support the people that are trying to protect the planet, and that is the Avengers. That's who we need to actually look to protect us in situations like this.
Well,
And there's still no proof.
no.
Listen, just one moment. There's still no proof that this situation would have been avoided if the Avengers weren't there. In fact, the outcome could have been way worse.
Should our superheroes report to the government? Let us know by Google searching WHIH online and follow us on Twitter. I'm Christine Everhart on behalf of Will Adams. Thank you for watching.